like? Who took the bomb?
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people. Good morning, peasants. Welcome to another episode of The Peasant's Perspective. So glad to be back with you today on, what day is today? Thursday. Hey, I forgot to mention it yesterday, but I'm pretty sure yesterday, if not yesterday, then the 23rd. I gotta look,
you can't even remember what date today is.
Well, no, the 19th is either when my trial started or it's the day I got remanded. I can't remember what it was. Okay. But either way, 2 years ago, I was being remanded. Whew, that was fun. There was a conversation on X about, January 6ers going back to DC for January 6th.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I was like, well, we all have our own reasons and motivations for why we want to go back. Last time I was in DC, I was taken away from my family in chains. So I'd like to go back a free man.
Oh, come on. It'll be fun.
Yeah. Anyways, but I said I will not be participating in any wild activities or anything like that. I was like, anyways, so great news came out yesterday evening, and this is all happening kind of quietly behind the scenes, but apparently the Russia-Ukraine talks are advancing significantly.
Oh,
that was going to be so smooth. I changed the sound over. Just a second, everybody. How are we doing in the chats? Pony Boy, good morning. Carlites, howdy y'all. Super consistent. Love it. Okay, sound. Okay, great. Okay, here we go.
Minutes here that the president has approved a 28-point plan for peace between Russia and Ukraine, according to a senior administration official. This is just into us here at NBC News. This official says this has been getting worked out over the last several weeks. And it comes as sources are telling us army leaders are making a surprise trip to Ukraine to try to revive the peace process. All of it coming at the end of a day where the Saudi crown prince was making the rounds here in D.C., doing some politics and some business with the president and on Capitol Hill. You can see Mohammed bin Salman, MBS, as he's known, there at the White House. This was yesterday. He was also walking through the Hill with the House Speaker. The president touting billions of dollars in deals with the Saudis, investments on things like nuclear energy, minerals, tech, etc. Let me bring in Garrett Hake at the White House. And Garrett, I have to start with your new reporting.
So the thing that was cool about that Saudi meeting is, I don't know if you remember when Israel came last time, Netanyahu came through the back door. Trump didn't greet him. It was kind of like, hey, just come in here and let's have a quick meeting. But it's still a state visit. And there was like no pomp and circumstance. Whereas with the Saudi one, holy cow, they rolled out the whole thing, had F-35 flyovers. It was a big deal. A lot of signaling out to the world. But that's been happening in the background. So it sounds like we're getting closer and closer to a Russia deal. A couple months ago, I said, okay, we're done with the Epstein thing. We were like, oh, and I was like, okay, well, Epstein again. And then this week, it's like, Epstein again. So not going to spend a lot of time on Epstein today. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
But Trump did sign the Epstein bill into law.
All right.
This is another one of those, like, I don't know. As a MAGA supporter, I'm like, did we just roll the dice? Like, was this just, we'll see how it goes?
Yeah, I don't know either. The whole time that this thing was rolling along, it's like, are we taking 2 steps back? Because can't we just do the thing that they're trying to now do formally? I don't know.
Well, that's now the accusation. So now they've put it into law and you got to release things. And now they're going to blame Pam Bondi for not releasing things. And of course, they've opened up the SDNY investigation. So now, even yesterday, and I'll play this clip, Pam Bondi, I can't talk about it.
It seems like this just gives more opportunities to flex and have all kinds of obfuscation, if I can say the word right.
One thing that I honestly believed was that they knew what was in the files until the last couple of days. And I'm like, oh, they clearly don't know what's in the files. This is just like any other bill these people have ever passed. They don't read. They're here for the clicks and the donations. They're not here for the policy. Right. So like the self-own of Plaskett texting live and Hakeem Jeffries raising campaign contributions. And there's others too. It's like, really, but what Jamie James Comer said. They have TDS so bad, they'll take out Bill and Hillary and Barack and Hakeem if that means they might get a scalp out of Donald Trump. So we'll see. So Donald Trump signed the bill yesterday. He's Jeffrey Epstein, who was charged by the Trump Justice Department in 2019, not the Democrats, was a lifelong Democrat, donated thousands of dollars to Democrat politicians, and was deeply associated with many well-known Democrat figures, such as Bill Clinton, who traveled on his plane 26 times, Larry Summers, who just resigned from many boards, including Harvard, sleazebag political activist Reid Hoffman, LinkedIn founder, Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, who asked Epstein to donate to his campaign after Epstein was charged, Democrat Congresswoman Stacey Plaskett, and many more. Perhaps the truth about these Democrats and their associations with Jeffrey Epstein will soon be revealed, because I have just signed the bill to release the Epstein files. As everyone knows, I asked Speaker of the House Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune to pass the bill in the House and Senate respectively. Because of this request, the votes were almost unanimous in favor of passage. At my direction, the Department of Justice has already turned over close to 50,000 pages of documents to Congress. Do not forget the Biden administration did not turn over a single file related to Democrats or Epstein. I had said that when Elon left, and we recorded it, man, so it's all on the record, right? I mean, you can... What's happening here? But we talked about the pincer move.
Oh, yeah.
Elon left. He planted the seed. Trump's in the Epstein files. That's when we released him. He's a pedo. The Democrats took that seed and they watered it and fertilized it and put grow lights on it and a nice humid area to grow. Right? They absolutely made that thing grow up to where you had Democrats just, Trump's in the files. Let's get him. Let's get him. And then they release a batch of them and it's like, we thought you'd give us some juicy stuff. This is the opposite of what you told us. I mean, even Sink Younger was like, what is this? What am I looking at here? This didn't get Donald Trump. Nor did they ever speak about him. Democrats have used the Epstein issue, which affects them far more than the Republican Party, in order to try to distract from our amazing victories, including the great big beautiful bill, tax cut bill, strong borders, no men and women's sports or transgender for everyone, ending DEI, stopping Biden's record-setting inflation, lowering prices, biggest tax and regulation cuts in history, ending 8 wars, rebuilding our military, knocking out Iran's nuclear capability, getting trillions of dollars invested in the USA, creating the hottest country anywhere in the world, and even delivering a huge defeat to the Democrats in the recent shutdown disaster. For years, our great nation has had to endure Russia, Ukraine, impeachment hoax number 1, impeachment hoax number 2, and many other Democrat-created witch hunts and scams. All of this, which have been so terrible and divisive for our country and have been done to confuse, deflect, and distract from the great job that Republicans and the Trump administration are doing. This latest hoax will backfire on the Democrats, just as all the rest have. Thank you for your attention to this matter, MAGA. Now, every one of those hoaxes did in fact backfire ultimately, but not without a lot of pain. But then again, what do they say? True dross ain't afraid of nothing. True gold is not afraid of the refiner's fire, right? So if you really can make it, you're good. Now, Pam Bondi was asked yesterday. They announced a large criminal indictment against a drug dealer. I can't remember his name. Anyways, they're calling him like the modern day Pablo Escobar. Tons of money.
Oh yeah, the guy from Canada.
They upped his, $15 million. They'll find him eventually, and he'll die in American federal prison. Probably the one where I was at with his black hand Mexican mafia buddies. But anyways, Pam Bondi at the end of this press conference was asked about the Epstein files because, as a matter of law, the Attorney General already made a statement saying we've reviewed the evidence and there's nothing left to investigate or anybody to indict. But now, after Trump put out the tweet, go investigate Reid Hoffman, Bill Clinton, and others, she said this.
Madam Attorney General, the DOJ statement earlier this year saying that the files would not release mentioned the fact that the review of the documents and the evidence did not suggest that any additional investigation of third parties was warranted. What changed since then that you launched the investigation?
Information that has come for information. There's information new information, additional information. And again, we will continue to follow the law, to investigate any leads. If there are any victims, we encourage all victims to come forward. And we will continue to provide maximum transparency under the law.
Now, I don't have my Black's Law Dictionary sitting here next to me, but that word information is a trouble word. When a cop walks around and goes, hey, I'm just looking for some information. Information is the means by which they charge you. It's literally,
evidence.
you can be charged by, quote, information.
/ evidence.
No, information
Okay.
is a synonym to indictment, invoice, charge,
Oh.
bill, presentment, claim.
Oh,
They are synonyms.
okay.
So when a cop says, I'm looking for some information, anything you say or do can and will be used against you as a charge. You give them the information to charge you. So when they say new information, it's not just, hey, a new news story popped up. It's new indictment, something new that rises to the level of probable cause. Information is beyond probable cause. It's the charge.
Oh,
That's a different. Information doesn't lead to probable cause. Probable cause leads to information. Information is used in the legal profession to say the charge. This is the charge. This is the information we are charging you with, right? So that's important to understand. She said information 5 times as an attorney. She's not saying, well, Trump told us to, or we read a news story. That's data. When we say information, we are thinking the legal term data, right? That's not what they're saying. When they say information, they're literally saying, I have the charge.
Okay.
I have a new charge. And who is the new charge? One of those people is this Larry Summers. Yesterday, we played the clip of him retiring, but this was him in 2016 saying Donald Trump was the greatest threat to, everything.
I think the prospect of Donald Trump being president would be the gravest threat to our prosperity, our security, and our freedom in my adult lifetime. So that's the thing I would worry most about.
Some of you will have seen my statement of regret, expressing my shame with respect to what I did in communication with Mr. Epstein, and that I've stated I'm going to step back from public activities for a time, but I think it's very important to fulfill my teaching obligation. So, with your permission, we're going to go forward.
We played that yesterday. But, that's the kind of guy, a guy who would do anything because Donald Trump's a huge threat to democracy and our way of business. And
well, and to his adult life freedom. I mean, everything he said was truthful.
Now, the Democrats, as expressed by Jessica Tarlov here on Fox News, on their Fox and 5 or whatever, she's like, why is Donald Trump flip-flopping on this issue? And Greg Gutfeld, who has incredible insight and, a hotline phone number to President Trump if he has a question, had this to say.
Why did he want the files to not come out this badly? Why? Just tell me why.
Why do you always fall for this stuff is the bigger question.
Happening again.
Russia,
Ukraine,
I don't think this is the end of John. I am not.
Nobody thinks it's the end of Donald Trump. It could be the end for the Democrats. You're watching it happen in real time. I love how you say, you look at it, Akeem Jeffrey. Oh, it's just a fundraising email.
That he had nothing to do with?
As if it were a Republican, your party, the media would not interpret it in the worst light. For example, it's amazing how the brilliant Jasmine Crockett thinks there's only one Jeffrey Epstein, and that one Jeffrey Epstein somehow gave money to Lee Zeldin. No, I know this is hard to believe. There is more than one Jeffrey Epstein.
So Jasmine Crockett got up on the floor and was like, lots of Republicans have taken money from Jeffrey Epstein. And she reads off a list of Republicans who took a donation from Jeffrey Epstein. Now, she specified on CNN that she said, Jeffrey Epstein. And then she goes, we only had 30 minutes to read this bill and decide on this. And so we did a quick search. We didn't have time to vet it, but it was Jeffrey Epstein.
Oh,
Dr. Jeffrey Epstein in New York, a practicing doctor who is a Republican and has made Republican donations. And he's very offended to be alleged to be the disgraced pedophile financier, Jeffrey Epstein, right?
Jeez.
Anyways, so, again, Greg Gutfeld, he's not wrong there. The Democrats could implode in real time if it wasn't a cult. and I say that having the allegation made that MAGA is a cult, right? It's like, you guys are a cult. MAGA can actually look in the mirror. You know what I mean? Like, you guys
See their reflection.
Yeah, we can see our reflection. Now, I do, again, yesterday, I did my 1776.us live, which, by the way, anybody who's interested in that that's not currently involved, please go to 1776live.us and register for the Ignite presentation. It's a lot of fun. So, and also, by the way, I need to pimp for chats too before I move on to the story. We still need our, a handful of chatters before the end of the month. And I don't want to get all desperate in the last 3 days and have friends making dummy accounts to get that one extra chat. So if you're listening, please check in the chat. Let us know you're here. That'd be great.
Especially if you haven't chatted before.
It's literally a once a month thing, right? I have to be in the Rumble creator program so they can blast this out to all of you guys, which I don't know if we're getting a whole lot of growth benefit out of it. But either way, we have to hit the chat requirement. We also have to read 4 more ads.
Wow, wonderful.
So at some point, we're going to have to do that. Okay, so yesterday, I'm wrapping up of my day, and I log in to check the news one more time, as I do habitually throughout the day, and whoop-ah! House Democrat charged with stealing $5 million in FEMA funds and making illegal campaign contributions. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, this is just another state senator or state house member. No, this is the U.S. Congress. This is Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick from Florida, and she's facing a maximum of 53 years in prison. Dr. Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick, Democrat of Florida, was indicted Wednesday on charges she stole and laundered $5 million in federal relief funds and used the money for her congressional campaign, the Justice Department said. They were laundering FEMA money back into politics. This is the allegation. This is the thing that Elon Musk said, that Burkhart said, that so many people that have been eaten and chewed up and spit out by the DC machine have said, they're stealing your money over there. And yet nothing ever happens. And yesterday, for the first time in my lifetime, I mean, I guess you had the Menendez cases, but they don't go nowhere. I mean, Menendez is in prison. That was weird. The gold bars made it funny, or made it interesting. But this one is just straight up corruption. In a news release citing the indictment, the Justice Department said that I don't even know how to say this. McCormick, 46, and Edwin Cherfilus, 51, her brother, worked on a staffing contract funded by the Federal Emergency Management Agency for COVID vaccinations tied to their family health care company in 2021. And that company was overpaid by $5 million funds. She and her brother are accused of conspiring to steal the overpayment and route it through various accounts to conceal its origins.
I wonder how much money that what kind of a company is it?
It's
their healthcare company.
A healthcare company doing FEMA disaster relief.
I wonder how much work that healthcare company actually did, or if it was just a shell. Well,
we're going to talk about a different company and how much healthcare it did here in a second. Okay, is alleged to have used the money for her own enrichment and to fund her significant part of her congressional campaign. Cherfilus-McCormick won a special election in January 2022 to fill the seat of late Democratic Elise Hastings. She won 73% of the vote in that year's general election and was reelected last year. She ran uncontested. I would be very concerned about these districts that have those kind of margins.
Oh, yeah.
Even on the Republican side, that allows this blatant, bold-faced corruption, because who's going to challenge him in that position? The Justice Department said Cherfilus-McCormick, I'm saying her name wrong. I apologize. And another defendant, Najee LeBlanc, 46, also used straw donors to secure additional campaign contributions, funneling other disaster relief money from FEMA-funded contract to friends and relatives who then made donations to the campaigns as if they were contributing their own money. Cherfilus-McCormick and a man who is alleged to have prepared her 2021 taxes are also charged with filing a false federal tax return for that year. Her office didn't return anything for comment. She did not cast votes in a series of roll call votes Wednesday night in the House. Oh, but don't worry, she is committed to be a public servant. So, yeah, that's great. I just for the record, just so everybody understands, there are currently 3 sitting members of the House under federal indictment. LaMonica McIver, New Jersey, for assaulting a federal agent. Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick, now Florida, for stealing $5 million from her campaign, or from FEMA, and Henry Kohler, Texas, for bribery. They are all under actual federal criminal indictment. Grand juries and everything. Okay. I want to be like that little kid on the what's the show, Hercules, like, it's happening. These are the little things. Now,
the Nutty Professor.
Will this go off with a bang today, or will this just kind of be cast under the mug? Obviously, people are now, we've had this censorship. We're going to censor Plaskett, and then we're going to censor Mills. Oh, they'll cancel each other out. Now they voted to censor Mills, but then that because it got forced to vote, but 300 people voted to send it to the ethics committee for investigation. So it'll go there, spend 20, 30 days, maybe die, maybe continue, who knows. But now you've got this issue. Listen, this is boldface. Looks like you were stealing money right from FEMA, and you're from 2022. You're not that vested. You got to go. I mean, it's one thing if Lindsey Graham pulls off something like this. Guy's been there for 30 years, Nancy Pelosi. But 2022, I mean, think about that for a second. How bold you have to be to do that in 2022. You got something there for us?
I'm trying.
All right, let's do morning kick.
We might as well. Let's see. Whoa. Hey, you. There's this video. It's from Chuck Norris. Yeah, it was insane. He's in his 80s and says he still feels like he's in his 50s. It was pretty shocking. He had some pretty cool tips in there, too, on what he's doing, including these 3 foods that he's avoiding like the plague. He explained all the things he was doing, and it was super simple. They're so easy, and you can do them right at home. When I first saw this, I knew I had to share this with you all. So, since what happened to Chuck could also happen to you too. With a new method, of course, your results can vary, but the video is definitely worth checking out. Watch this new method by clicking the link in the chat or scanning the QR code on your screen. You won't believe how simple it is.
And what's really great about this ad is you have to follow through to find out what the heck he's talking about.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what I was talking about.
It really is a cliffhanger of an ad. I mean, it's like,
that's great.
And Chuck Norris, and it's like, click the link and find out. So somebody needs to report back to us what the morning kickstart program needs to be. Thank you for doing that, Ron. Okay, So now we jump over to Michigan and we find out about a plumbing company that had a little bit of a immigration problem.
Business in question that has a Metro Detroit couple in hot water with federal investigators.
It's not just simply an immigration case that's charged. It's also money laundering.
And these are the federal documents investigators say detail the inner workings of the plumbing empire built by Moises Orduña Rios and his wife Raquel over a 5-year period. The Plymouth Township couple own Orduña Plumbing, Manpower Supply, and allegedly hired... I
want to point something out here. I'm in the trades. You're in the trades, right? Yeah. Trades adjacent.
Yeah.
You're white collar tradesmen.
Sure.
Right? 5 years to build a plumbing company that's got $75 million worth of cash flow. What do you think?
Yeah. Okay.
No.
That's pretty aggressive.
No, that's zero. No, not happening. No.
Like Mercurio's?
No. In 5 years from zero to hero, 5 years, 75 million? No.
More like 15.
Maybe more like 50.
Okay.
I mean, it's very few plumbing companies are doing 75 million in revenue.
That's true.
Okay. We're talking Roto-Rooter national brands.
Yeah.
We're not talking about Jose Rodriguez.
75 satellite offices.
We're not talking about first generation immigrant in 5 years in Michigan competing with good old boys. Is going to pull off a $75 million
you'd have to have about 75 satellite offices.
Yeah. So how did he do it?
Minute workers took their passports and crammed them into tight living quarters. These photos from the criminal complaint.
Oh, slave labor. Oh, kind of like our local guy here that I used to compete with, who sent his daughter to law school to be an immigration lawyer so he could literally traffic people here to work for him for slave wages. Like, we know this happens here. I know a company that's doing this.
The federal complaint focuses on Rochester, New York, but Michigan, Ohio, and North Carolina are also mentioned as places the company operates. According to the complaint, out of 253 workers, only 6 were in the U.S. legally and permitted to work. The complaint claims the husband and wife generated $74 million in their plumbing business that was based out of Michigan.
So whenever you use money that is unlawful and you deposit it into a bank and you manipulate the banking system, that's money laundering. And that's what the government's alleging here.
Former federal prosecutor Matthew Schneider reviewed the 27-page complaint, which mentions investigators interviewing the workers on numerous occasions and the company's use of the WhatsApp messaging app.
In this case, you've got physical evidence, statement of the people arrested, and the government was listening to the communications of the defendants. So you actually have all 3 of those things. And whenever you have a criminal defendant speaking and being recorded, and the government has that evidence, That's extremely powerful, and the burden on that is really hard to overcome.
The company headquarters is in Plymouth Township, where we stopped to see if anyone was present who could speak to the allegations. No one was there. We then went next door.
It's pretty crazy how big the operation was, with very little activity that was there.
Jeff Goebbels, a golf pro, runs his business in an adjacent office space. He said,
anybody who's a small business owner, 75 million. Certain industries, yeah, I get it. The price points of products and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, most people work 40 hours a week for a living. Okay. And some people do get rich, and plumbers absolutely can get rich, but do the math. I mean, I was in the excavation business, $250,000 for a dump truck and a truck and transfer setup, $150,000 for an excavator. You're charging hundreds of dollars an hour. Plumbers aren't charging that.
Huge burn rate.
They got, Echoline vans.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they can't scale up like that. The amount of daily revenue you have to get to spread 75 million over 5 years, so 24 million, 25 million a year. You're talking.
Well, they're not making $1,000 an hour either.
You're talking. You're talking what is it? In fact, it's worth doing the math. 25 million. Okay, so you got 25 million divided by 280 working days or something. That's like $892,000 a day. Stealing from you, by the way. They had to money launder it in because they earned it illegally. Stealing from you, your kids, my peers that could be working in those industries.
See about 3 people in and out of the office, and he's stunned by the allegations.
Yeah, it's kind of frightening that they could get that deep. It just looked like a normal business that I didn't see a lot of work trucks coming in and out. But that it was that detailed with the immigration issues that are going on today, it's pretty interesting.
The couple, whose address comes back to this $1.5 million mansion in Plymouth Township, were released Tuesday on conditions after appearing in Michigan Eastern District Court. The couple's next court date is scheduled for December.
So that's fun.
I like how they call the $1 million house a mansion. Out here, they're just houses.
Yeah, a starter house. Starter house without a view.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I want to move to Michigan. Your $500,000 will buy you a pretty nice McMansion out there. Okay. So now we jump over to the Somali community, which they've been digging into this community.
In Somalia?
In Michigan, in Minnesota, the Somali community in Minnesota.
Okay.
These guys, the community, not the individuals, right? Now, I want to paint the picture and be a racist. The community is fraudulently using every government system you can imagine.
Mr. Adal, can we ask you some questions?
Assad Adal did not want to talk outside St. Paul federal court.
How many vulnerable people did you leave sitting in a snowbank so you could line your own pockets?
But once inside, he admitted on the record that his company, Leo Human Services, ripped off taxpayers to the tune of $2.7 million while falsely claiming to help 250 people find housing.
How would you describe that $14,000 that was billed to your Medicaid?
Fraud on every level.
I never met with them. I've never even seen them.
Carol Evan first began investigating the BMW driving business owner earlier this year.
We have so much work to do. I mean, I'm being asked questions here.
Well, people say you're not doing work, that you're billing thousands of dollars for work that's not being done.
Stick to proper channels, man. I'm doing everything I am correctly.
But that was not true. CARE's investigation exposed a family fraud factory operating out of this Blaine home. Assad's brother, Anwar Adal, was running another HSS company called Liberty Plus, also stealing from taxpayers and preying on vulnerable Minnesotans desperate to find a home.
And you're sitting there in the cold thinking, okay, any day now. And that any day never comes.
When agents raided the Adal brothers' home, they seized stacks of cash, tens of thousands of dollars hidden under a mattress and in a suitcase beneath the stairs.
How did you and your brother get involved in this HSS scheme?
As part of his plea deal, Assad admitted he used the millions he fraudulently billed to lease that BMW and buy property in Kenya.
How much money did you move overseas?
Both he and his brother have now pled guilty to wire fraud and face 4 to 5 years in prison when sentenced.
I tell you what, man, for $2.7 million, I'd have spent 14 months in jail. You know,
wait a minute.
He's going to get First Step Act, so he'll only end up spending about 2.5 years in prison for $2.7 million. And I doubt they'll claw back the land in Kenya, just my guess. Jeez, man. Oh, my gosh. Now, you can see the problem. plumbing jobs taken by that guy who's bringing in 250 employees and only 6 of them at his corporation are legal. I mean, that's 400 and 247, 40. My math is bad today.
That's a big number.
It's a lot of jobs. It's a lot of jobs for those little communities. Okay. Now, Canada is they're going to have a problem. Why do I know they're going to have a problem? Well, listen to how they're doing their immigration checks.
In essence, to speed things up, because we are short-staffed, we're allowing people into the country without first doing that security screening.
Okay, hold on a second. So you're saying that a refugee claimant coming to Canada goes to a machine and says, I want to be a refugee in Canada, hits a button, and they're in the country? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's not a machine, it's an application. So the one-touch system, they're given instructions on how to use that. That connects directly with IRCC, and they're given that documentation to complete on their own once they're in the country. We're not doing that. So
basically, they take out their phone, theoretically, and they tap it a few times, and they are now in the country as a refugee accepted by our country.
Yes, we get some basic data from them, and again, we do the biometrics. Beyond that, they're doing that on their own, yes. So in essence, to speed things up,
by the way, it was the same thing happening in the U.S. under Biden. So build a wall, build a northern wall. Are we going full Game of Thrones? Do we need a northern ice wall? Are the zombies going to come down? Now, we did this for 4 years, and the impact was dramatic in local communities. So this is this New Hampshire? North Carolina. So this is North Carolina is having a little bit of an issue with school attendance.
Class typically has 16 students in it. We had 4.
District-wide, there are 145,030 students enrolled in Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools. On Monday, 30,399 were absent, 28,136 unexcused. While CMS doesn't break down the numbers by ethnic origin, Gillespie, a multilingual teacher, did.
Children of parents from Angola, from Vietnam, but the students whose parents come from Latin American countries were the students we were missing. So that was kind of the line, even among the ML students, is that we were missing Hispanic students. Class.
Why would we be missing 25%, 21% of the student body in North Carolina? Because they're doing raids in North Carolina.
Yeah, so they're scared.
So they're scared.
So they're either hiding or they've left. Most likely hiding.
But today they didn't steal our money because they didn't go to school, right? Because they're stealing your money when they go to school and get public services. You know what I mean? So, 20% of the school district in North Carolina is illegal immigrant kids. What did I say about the population here? The local nurse here, when my youngest was born, said 50% of the kids here are born without parents that are citizens.
Wow.
Right. So eventually you start looking at our school districts and you'll see this. How do you have a country, not a nation? A nation is a political association. A nation is a corporation. A country, the land and her people. How do you have a country with a culture when you have 20% that come with a foreign language and a foreign culture?
And don't assimilate.
Mexico does not share our culture. The South Americans do not share the same culture we have. They have a separate and distinct culture. It would be one thing if we had a bunch of Albertans crossing the border, right? Or a bunch of Saskatchewans crossing the border.
Totally,
it'd be like almost unnoticeable culture-wise, right? Except they'd be like, save the queen or whatever, and we'd be like, what are you talking about? But beyond that,
really into hockey,
yeah. Louisiana might finally get that hockey team. But anyways, so beyond that, though, it would be not a big deal. It's a huge deal with it coming from the Latin cultures. Now, is there a fusion culture, Latin American? Absolutely. Go visit Texas. What do you think Tex-Mex is? Right? So, and while Pam Bondi was doing the press conference about the notorious drug dealer, Redding, I think his name, Chris Redding or something, Writing, something like that. She was also asked about another case in Tampa, Florida, that they unsealed some indictments that, again, dealt with this immigration fraud. And it's not just the people. The people affect your jobs. They affect your kids' experience in the classroom. But then on top of that, you have the actual financial corruption.
Just this week, Joint Task Force Alpha took 4 major enforcement actions Right here in Tampa, we unsealed the indictment charging 12 defendants operating a massive, right here in Tampa, a massive illegal smuggling ring. The defendants engaged in a conspiracy to bring illegal aliens from Cuba to the U.S. for profit. They coached their clients, including children who came to airports alone, came to our country alone, were put on planes for connecting flights, lied to Border Patrol agents due to coaching and law enforcement. They charged up to $40,000 per victim. They used Zelle to transfer over $7 million over the course of this scheme, and I believe had profits, cash of over $18 million.
So I like how she says all this like it's supposed to be shocking, and we just sit here like, okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for all the facts.
Thanks for catching up. Glad you're here.
Yep.
This again, when I saw this most recent indictment against this Democrat, I was like, right on the heels of the Epstein files coming out, I was like, is this it? Russia's brokering peace. The rest of the world's kind of chilled out. America's got reinvestment coming in. Trade deals are being settled. China is being pressured. Now, is Trump going to turn domestic? Right? Is he taking care of the big picture so the pressure's off? Right? Because if you have a domestic issue and then there's an international issue, that's how things fall apart. So if you can get the international pressures off so you're not spending blood and treasure overseas.
Well, I don't think we're done by any means.
Oh no. But in 10 months, Trump has accomplished a lot when it comes to tangible things. Now, when you have been unemployed for 6 months and you get that first job, it's going to take a year or two to dig out. It's just kind of the way it works, unless it's a huge pay increase or something. But what Trump is doing matters.
1.9 million more American-born workers are employed today. Think of that than when I took office. So we picked up almost 2 million workers, and more Americans are now working, as I said, than at any time in the history of our country. Under Biden, 1 out of every 4 new jobs went to increase the size of the federal government. So in other words, 1 out of 4 was a federal worker. Well, I love our federal workers, but that's not the way you can build a country. It's a short road to a disaster. Under my administration, 100%, think of that, of all new jobs created came out of the private sector. 1.9 million more American-born workers are.
Say that again.
100% of jobs, 2 million jobs that have been created under Trump have been in the private sector, as opposed to Joe Biden, where it was 1 in 4 was coming from the government, which meant it was a cost on the balance sheet. The other thing that is significant about that, which he didn't say in this little clip, was under Joe Biden, the net increase in jobs went exclusively to foreign-born. So you didn't have one net job gain for legacy native-born Americans. Yeah. And why is that? It's because factories are finally building here. So Nvidia stood up a factory very quickly, and they're now building the most advanced chips right here.
We manufactured the most advanced AI chips in the world, in the most advanced fab in the world, here in America for the first time. All of this started with President Trump wanting to reindustrialize the United States. His terrorist was a pressing agent in making this possible at the speed that we're doing, and now at shortly after less than a year, we're now manufacturing the most advanced chips for AI here in the United States. This is just the beginning of it. With the partnership of the supply chain in Taiwan, TSMC is an incredible partner, a strategic partner for the United States in bringing manufacturing of the most critical sector of technology here to the United States. This is just the starting point, where after that, with Foxconn, Amcor, Spill, Wistron, so many of our other partners, we're going to bring the entire supply chain of building AI infrastructure back here in the United States. By the end of the next 3 or 4 years, we'll probably manufacture, we're on target to manufacture about $500 billion of AI supercomputing technology to be installed here.
If you follow Ray Dalio's The Big Cycle speech, And he talks about, countries have a new industry and technology. And every time there's one of these big cycles, it starts off with something new, right? There's some new. So the American current dominance is we exported vehicles, we exported appliances, we exported technology, we exported computers, we exported railroads, we exported planes, we exported a bunch of tech. But then eventually it got cheaper to build that tech overseas, and that leads to we become decadent, and it's cheaper to pay someone over there to build something than something over here, make it cheaper, right? So it kind of becomes self-defeating once you kind of reach that arc. And we definitely reach the arc. Well, now you've got new technology. So you've got China's ascendant who's grabbing this new technology and using it. America invented it. So now it's a race to see who actually implements it and owns it. Because whoever owns this tech will own being the primary reserve currency, because everybody's going to want your tech. So just like the automobile transformed the American economy, along transportation transformed the American economy, that was the new tech that we exported. AI is what Trump wants to be our new tech. AI, robotics, space travel, right? This is the new age. It's not the information age. It's now the technology age, right? So that's a good thing. But again, just like everything, there's a flip side to it. So this is Steve Bannon, the speaker for the Populists, and he's pointing out a little bit of a tricky thing with Nvidia and AI and these chips. Yep, that's great. Huge upside. There's also a huge downside to it as well. So as a good peasant, we just want to be informed
on the society. But the first thing we should do, they're not getting ahead of us unless we help them.
China.
On artificial intelligence, let me tell you, NVIDIA's about to announce earnings, and Wall Street's going to go crazy. He's going to have $500 million of backlog for the chips. Jensen Yang, who's a agent of influence for the Chinese Communist Party, he's an arms merchant. Just let's get down to just think about it very basically. These chips are essentially critical to weaponization. He's an arms dealer. He's an arms dealer, and he'll deal with anybody. He'll deal with the Chinese Communist Party. Look at his saying, oh, yeah, it doesn't matter if a Chinese company does better, if China leads. No, that's absolutely incorrect. So the U.S. government and all this stuff about you can't have any restrictions on this. You're going to slip it into the NDA, and one argument is clearly the intellectual property, and I appreciate that, and I support that, Mike Davis and the team, but that's a small part of it. This is to take off any control whatsoever. You have more restrictions on starting a nail salon on Capitol Hill or to have your hair braided than you have on one of the most dangerous technologies in the history of mankind, probably the most dangerous technology. Technology has tremendous upside if properly guided, but unguided, incredibly dangerous. And now we know from the leaks that are coming out from the industry and the CFO of OpenAI, you understand that at least the initial financing plan for the rollout of data centers and energy that go with it is $5 trillion. Now, I spent last night with some very smart people about AI. They said, well, actually, that's probably half. It's probably closer to $8 to $10 trillion. On the $5 trillion model, as put out on Zero Hedge, $1 trillion, what plugged the gap was $1 trillion was coming from you, the full faith and credit of the United States government. You had all the tech bros last night taking pictures of themselves with this.
So those NVIDIA chips and Steve Bannon's perspectives are just weapons. He's an arms dealer. So
well, not even just that. I was thinking about this yesterday as well, and this is an opportunity for another bubble. And how do you audit a company like Nvidia when they are claiming to either produce or have incomes in excess of, hundreds of millions or trillions of dollars? How do you understand that corporation and the power that they're flexing, and how much opportunity there is for fraud and abuse of that corporation as you're funneling money in and out for a company who has produced so far one wafer of chips in America? Okay, so how much did we invest in that wafer of chips so far?
If that's the case, if all they've invested is a wafer, then you have a problem.
Yeah.
Right? But I think what I've seen, and this is what Jeff Bezos commented, is yes, some of these AI companies are in a bubble themselves.
Oh, yeah. No. This is aside from the AI bubble, but it is a shell of that AI bubble, but it is part of that bubble too.
So this is what Jeff Bezos said. He said there's going to be these bubbles, and he's like, bubbles, you know, good, bad, or whatever.
Sure.
Bubbles sometimes mean you're catching up on housing inventory, right? So bubbles
bubbles are going to happen as a normal process of innovation and entrepreneurialism, because some people are winners and some are not.
And some are going to oversupply when demand drops, et cetera, et cetera. But what he says about this one is, unlike the other ones that do end with a husk of what was there, right? You know, $1 million IPO, you're worth $10,000. It's a husk.
And what I'm trying to say is that with Nvidia, with a corporation of this size, it would be really easy to pull the wool over on the public.
Well, this is what Jeff Bezos was inferring. If one of these businesses goes out of business and the debt gets, you know, lost away through the way debt just gets discharged, he's like, someone will come in and buy up those assets and they're worth something. It's like, it's not a .com burst where you have pets.com that was worth $10 million, but there was no underlying website, right? He's like, what'll happen is when the thing busts, you're going to be left with the Ford factory. You can still make a car, and we need the cars.
Okay, so I'm happy where you're going with this, because what happens when there is a bubble and Nvidia is going to fail?
I think this is where Jeff Bezos goes. It will fail, but the industry will not. He says, unlike other bubbles, the industry is not a bubble. It's emergent. And the bubble is forming around an emergent industry. And as they throw money at every app program that's touting that we've got some AI capacity, some of them will work. You know what I mean? And some of them will create new file management systems and new auditing systems and things like that. And that will outlast the bubble.
But right now, Nvidia is it. I mean, they're pretty much the only player that's moving into this space in America.
Well,
and they're going to be the linchpin.
That's not true, because Elon Musk already has one that's better.
Oh, okay.
But the Elon's doing the Apple thing. It's going in his products.
Okay.
Right. So that is like, there are competitors to Nvidia that are direct competitors, but some of them are doing, you know, like Elon uses,
but the scale,
he uses something called integers in his chips, whereas everyone else is using floating point. And it allows him to do math faster at higher levels when you're talking about self-driving cars and stuff like that. And so it's a fundamentally different product. So you can't put a Mac chip into a Dell PC. You know, they have a different whatever they do in those little green boards. But I think that's the thing, is the tech has advanced to the point to where now other people can come up with other ideas to get around patents and things like that. And apparently that is proliferating.
I just don't want to end up where we have Nvidia that's treated like a Goldman Sachs and we can't let them fail.
Too big to fail. I don't want to end up with another Boeing. The only guy that can make 747s. Right. Too big to fail.
Right.
So part of this too big to fail problem is Nick Fuentes, right? An incredibly influential youth influencer. His community, his followers, they call him Groypers. And
is this the white nationalist guy?
Yeah, he gets accused of being white nationalist. I hate listening to him.
I don't know anything about him.
I hate listening to him because I feel like I'm listening to a clean-cut prison Nazi. Like, I honestly feel like it's the same freaking people. If this guy goes to prison, 6 months later, he's got swastikas on him. Right? Because he'll easily buy into the racial identity culture. Right. Now, on the outside, it's easy to cage that stuff as nationalism and culture and the religious, and you can dress.
I don't even know what I just called him. I just know that that's the label that gets put on him.
You can dress up racism any way you want. Okay. Now, there's a difference between class racism and individual racism. I'm not claiming that Nick Fuentes is a individual racist. He's a class racist. Okay. Very much. I mean, he's come after J.D. Vance for marrying an Indian. He called her some racial slur. Okay, so he uses that to provocateur, but you have to understand this younger audience, these young 20-year-olds, teenagers, they're looking at a different world than the boomers did when they were growing up. They are not looking at a world where opportunity is advertising. They're sucked into the algorithms online where they're getting sold something constantly. And part of the sales pitch, go listen to the Sean Ryan podcast recently about AI algorithms, is putting you in a place of desperation, right? Because that creates motivation. And so everything they're doing is ultimately to sell you something or to solicit a campaign donation or to get you to take action and do something, right? So they're living in this world where they're in a mind warp constantly. So Nick Fuentes, given everything that's kind of been going on the last couple of years, came out and he gave this little small speech about what the future holds. And he's basically saying the populace, right? The people that are bound to the country, the people that love the country and her people, right? Which then gets converted into nationalism because now you want to take that homogenous group of people, however you've painted them, however you've identified them, and you want to create a political association called the nation, which then can enforce rules on the population.
Okay.
Got it? That's the process. So he's laying out what he believes should be the compromise and the future going forward for politics on the quote unquote right.
Democrats and nationalist Republicans working together, let's say to compel the release of the Epstein files. What kind of approval rating do you think that has? 90%? And what if they got together and they opposed foreign aid to Israel? What approval rating do you think that would have? 90%? What if they got together and worked on the basis of a common interest? Do you think that that Republicans or independents running under that brand, do you think that that would become more popular or less popular over time? 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16. It snowballs. And we need to propel someone into the White House that is just a populist. And here's where we're going to have to give. This is going to be the compromise. Very simple. The left has to give up immigration. That's simple. The left is going to have to give up. Look, we can have equity and we can have equality in the country. We can have civil rights. We can have all those things. But we have to close the damn borders. We have to close it. Too many illegal immigrants. Too many legal immigrants. That has to be the compromise. The left has to give on immigration and the right has to give on the free market. If the right can come down on health care and on a social safety net and maybe on some subsidies for education, and if the left can come down on the anti-white open border stuff and they can agree that we have a country, that party will win 90% of the vote and rule for a century. That's the compromise. That's the populist compromise. Why is it that for the left, it's like they don't even care about anything else. It just has to be open borders. And on the right, it's like they don't care about anything else as long as it's foreign aid to Israel and war in the Middle East and war with Russia. That's the kind of program that we need. And that's what they're terrified of. They're terrified that the left and the right are going to come together on the basis of stop supporting Israel, on the basis of close the borders, on the basis of restricting money in politics and the influence of the oligarchs. That's what they're terrified of. So,
all right, I'm going to make a pronouncement that's a big claim, and they're unusual for me. That right there is like listening to 1920s Adolf Hitler. We need social. We need to do it as a people together. Do it for the people, the nation. Close the borders. Xenophobic. Can't have foreign cultures. Have to be homogenous. That right there is the ingredients of national fascism.
And if he was yelling into the microphone, it would be just like Hitler. Have you ever listened to those speeches and been like, what is he saying? And then you read the captions of what he's saying, and it's like, we love this country. And he just sounds so angry the whole time. Exactly.
But the fatherland. I agree with everything he's saying, but he sounds so angry.
I know, exactly.
What is I love you in German? It's like, you know, it's like, whoa, okay. And one of these people aren't very caring and kind. And it's like, I don't want you to say that. It's offensive to me. It feels hard. Okay. I'm saying that now. I don't want to be that guy. Oh, that's Hitler. when you go listen to Hitler's buildup before he goes all final solution
in the 30s,
there's a reason he was Time Magazine Person of the Year. There's a reason why the Olympics were in Berlin. There's a reason why they were dragging people around. Look at how clean our streets are and how great our people are. Saddam Hussein did the same thing, by the way. Go watch the Netflix documentary about Saddam Hussein when he brings the Western reporter into the children's classroom and they're like, Saddam, make sure we're all fed. Saddam has changed our economy and make sure we all get education and a job. And he's like, look at how well they're learning. And the foreign reporters are like, you're brainwashing these kids, right? That's, again, the problems that Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump address are the same problems. Nick Fuentes is tapped into being able to talk about those problems. These are generational problems. They're not easy fixes. But both of these, all three of them, Trump, Bernie, and Nick Fuentes, offer different solutions. Nick Fuentes is trying to bridge the Bernie bros to the MAGA guys with that young generation of groypers. What do they want? A social safety net and Christian values. I've said this before. The youth that are MAGA aligned are culturally aligned. They are not economically aligned. Boomers that are MAGA aligned want to preserve their home equity and preserve their way of doing it, but they approve of log cabin Republicans and gay treasury secretaries. And you know what I mean? They don't care about that stuff. They're children of the 60s. They're past it. That is the big divide, and someone is going to win the prize. So if Donald Trump in this administration can't change the outlook of younger generations, you're going to get groypers in a couple of years. That's what's going to happen. You're going to get American nationalists. I have no problem with that. But then they're on top of that going to be encouraging socialism. That right there is a recipe to just end up in some form of authoritarian control.
Well, fortunately, we have socialist mayors in both Seattle and New York. So hopefully people can see what happens there and we can cut this off real quick.
Again, they're going to blame the fact that you can. Let me tell you what the next generation will say. Socialism didn't work in Seattle or New York, A, because the capitalists wouldn't let it work, and B, because they weren't homogenous enough.
You know, I can see what you're saying.
They weren't working together like a family. They weren't in it for each other.
I don't know if you could say that as much in Washington as in New York, because Washington is so blue. I mean, the whole state.
Oh, but it doesn't matter, because if you're white, blue dog Democrat, you still don't want your social welfare going to the Indian or to the, Latin person. That Bernie Sanders opposed immigration. He called it a Koch plan, a Koch brothers plan. Like, they naturally don't like that because they want to preserve jobs. That's part of their platform. Biden got them off track, and I believe that is mainly because we were under attack. Right? That was not an economic policy. Let's prop up the corporatists while we destroy the country. That's in my opinion what was going on there. Now, Scott Bessent yesterday, or 2 days ago, I guess, talked about all the investment that's come into America to stave off the Nick Fuentes future. And again, I'm not saying he's evil. He represents a generation of people. And unless we understand them, Ron, as you and I retire, they will be running the country. Okay, they will be in charge of economic and fiscal policy in our golden years. Okay, so we want to be conscientious to set the stage for success for them so that they can have individual opportunity, so that we can have a cohesive nation, so that we can have a identifiable culture, but not have them turning around trying to make us pay the generations ahead of them for their housing because we couldn't let go of our equity, because we couldn't fix the grift, graft, and corruption in the government that caused rampant inflation that priced them out. Does that make sense? So we've really got to pay attention to that, which is why I appreciate Scott Bessent and the Trump administration focusing so much on local jobs. These jobs that are happening, only a fraction of them are going to boomers. Most of them are going to the younger generation that's been iced out by mass immigration.
The president uses the number 20 trillion in terms of total investments. And I think that those commitments are real. And whether it's corporate investment, whether it's the Japanese trade deal where they're going to put in $550 billion, that whether it's the Korean trade deal with $350 billion, whether it's, Apple saying that they're going to reshore, I believe that they may be up to $500 billion. So, it's investments like we've never seen. And Brett, just to put that in perspective, the entire Biden administration was $1 trillion over 4 years, $250 billion the final year. And we've got many single investments that are bigger than the Biden administration took in 1 year. So this is America's back. The president's done that, our great tax policy. So we're deregulating, we've got tax certainty, and we're working on energy certainty.
So all that stuff is setting the stage, hopefully, so that we don't have to have a merger of socialism with nationalism. Okay? Let's go to the chats here. Shantini, good morning from West Michigan. Feels like Seattle here too. Yeah, and you got a plumbing company that is unavailable this morning. Madam Mim, good morning. I know Madam Mim. She's the sexiest lady on the planet. Woo. That's my wife. Pony Boy, I'd like to look into 1776, but my hours don't coincide. Well, Pony Boy, good for you. Almost everything over there is recorded, so you can listen to it at your leisure. So you should still check it out. Get a hold of us. We'll give you the videos and things like that. Because we are in the private, we don't put that stuff out in the public because it's that good. It's that important. John Attack Peasants Perspective shows in my social media feeds now about once a day. That is awesome. I really appreciate it. The reason that's happening is because you, the listeners, are reposting. It makes a difference. It tells the algorithm to share it with other people. So please, everybody that's listening right now, whether you're on Rumble, X, or YouTube, please like, share, and if you'd go so far as to make a comment in the actual show comments, that would be awesome. Any engagement with the show tells the algorithm this show is cool. Push it out to others. So really appreciate that. Pony Boy says this plumber is full of it. I'm laughing. I don't get the joke. G. Pager. Weather in Draper, Utah is just cool. Getting ready for winter. Nice not to mow the yard anymore. Yeah, that's true. And I think I know who that is too. Welcome. Anti-Socialist League. Socialism will fail in blue cities, but they will never accept responsibility. That's right. And that's so because the modern communist is a Trotskyite, and they believe it won't be successful until it's universal. So they have, just like Islam, they have a universal desire to grow it. Okay. You teeing up a...
I'm trying, man. I had a good one here. Oh, we might as well read this one.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's see. Boom. I gotta wait for my
waiting.
It's gonna work.
I think we have
it's not working.
Oh, well, they're not. Our audience isn't going to get to hear about the wonderful offer from Rumble Premium.
Bummer.
Okay, he'll look for one while we play this video. So this is Donald Trump in the same Saudi American Investment Forum speech, U.S. Saudi Investment Forum speech. He talked about the election.
We had the problem 2 weeks ago on the snap, and they talked about all of this, the numbers. So when I left, which was a rigged election, by the way, but that's okay. They used to go crazy. I'd say rigged, nobody complains anymore because now they realize it was, and it's been proven, and it continues to be proven. But when I left, that number was $7 billion. Now it's $47 billion. That's Biden. So if you think about it, if
$7 billion was being paid out in SNAP benefits, 4 years later, $47 billion was being paid out in SNAP benefits.
So is this like a USAID replacement funnel?
This was food stamps going to illegal immigrants. And they let 20 million across the border and gave them all food stamps.
Oh.
So we went from a social safety net burden of $7 billion to take care for the widow, the single mother, and the children to $47 billion in 4 years.
Jeez.
It only took 60 years of food stamps for us to get to $7 billion.
Jeez.
And in 4 years, we jumped it to 47. And you wonder why the younger generations are frustrated?
I'm frustrated.
This happened on our watch, not my watch. I was in prison. You guys did this. Okay? This happened on our watch.
Yeah. Who's the same basic thing? Grossly incompetent. He was incompetent. They're all incompetent because their policies are incompetent. Open borders, men playing in women's sports, transgender for everybody. I mean, they got the worst policy. I don't talk about it too much because if I talk about it, they might change. So, no, I don't talk about it. I tell people, don't talk about it. Wait till 2 weeks before the election and hit the hell out of them. Right?
He's so freaking funny as a politician, man. Barack Obama couldn't make anybody laugh. I mean, he could hit your inspiration bone from time to time, but he didn't hit your giggle bone. Donald Trump just is funny about it, man. He's so good. Now, Donald Trump talked about the rigged election. This is still a problem. This is not resolved. 2020 is not resolved. 2021 is not resolved. 2022 is not resolved. 2023 is not resolved. Remember, there were elections in all these years.
2027 is not resolved.
Is not resolved. And 2025 is not resolved. Okay. There was a court case down in Texas, and this has to do with redistricting. Okay. Texas was going to gain a couple extra seats, and it ended up in the Supreme Court, like everything does. And suddenly, this Trump appointed judge is the deciding vote to basically not allow Texas to redistrict. Meanwhile, over in California, they're doing their thing. So this post here comes from Kyle Becker, and he's quoting from the dissent. So it was a 2-1 vote on this striking down the redistricting. And this is the dissent, okay? Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night. I also need to highlight the pernicious judicial misbehavior of the U.S. District Judge Jeffrey Vincent Brown. These are quotes from another judge. In my 37 years on the federal bench, this is out of his dissent. This is the most outrageous conduct by a judge that I have ever encountered in a case which I have been involved. In summary, Judge Brown has issued a 160-page opinion without giving me any reasonable opportunity to respond. I will set forth the details. The readers can judge for themselves. This is the judge writing this. And who's he writing this to? The Supreme Court.
Boo.
The 3-judge district court held a 9-day evidentiary hearing trial for the motion for preliminary injunction. That hearing was conducted Friday, October 10th. The judges immediately retired to confer. Judges Brown and Guadarrama voted to grant the preliminary injunction. I voted to deny it. It was understood that the majority judges would begin putting together an opinion. Standard practice. During the next 26 days, there was silence, nary a word from either judge. On Wednesday, November 5th, Judge Brown sent me a 13-page outline of the expected majority opinion. Quote, so that you and your chambers might be able to begin preparing your dissenting opinion. Nothing else for a week. On Wednesday, November 12th, Judge Brown sent a message stating, we currently anticipate issuing our injunction on Saturday, November 15th. We will endeavor to get you a draft before we issue it. Sadly, we did not believe that we can wait for a dissenting opinion before we rule. The fuse is simply too short in light of Purcell. That's another case. We will, however, note on the opinion that you are dissenting. We are not trying to cut you out. We just don't have time. Ideally, of course, we'd like to have seen your dissent before we issue our opinion, but that will also be impossible. Yes, you heard it right. This is the judge speaking. To summarize, in case the reader doesn't get the point, Judge Brown was announcing that he would issue an opinion 3 days later, an opinion that I hadn't even seen and might not be furnished before its issuance. That is unthinkable, but it occurred, and not accidentally. The outrage speaks for itself. Any pretense of judicial restraint, good faith, or trust by these 2 judges is gone. If these judges were so sure of the result, they would not have been so unfairly eager to issue the opinion sans my dissent. Or could they have waited for the dissent in order to join issue with it? What indeed are they afraid of? This is a federal district judge on an appeals panel telling the Supreme Court these other judges are corrupt. They are doing this for political reasons. They're not following the rule of law. They're not following the customs of the court or the principles laid out by the Constitution and judicial rulings for 250 years. They're rushing it.
They're going rogue.
So when Trump says it's a rigged election, they're actively trying to rig 2028 and 2030. And how do I know this? Because they're still pursuing litigation against people in 2020 who stood up to the corruption. This is Judge Jim Tropis. He was a judge in the state of Wisconsin. He is one of the attorneys who, as an attorney advising Donald Trump, went to the Wisconsin attorney general and said, hey, we want to do an alternative slate of electors because in the Bush v. Gore case, the Supreme Court had said because there was an alternative slate of electors, they had to make a decision. They couldn't follow the constitutional process to send it to the legislature in the states, blah, blah, blah. And so the Wisconsin attorney general issued a memorandum opinion telling this gentleman to form a slate of alternative electors. But now they're trying to put him in jail for the rest of his life, still for doing that.
We in Wisconsin did a recount, a legitimate recount. We asserted legal claims that would have taken out over 200,000 votes. 3 members of our state Supreme Court, including the Chief Justice of the court, agreed with us and would have overturned the election in Wisconsin. That's what we did. In order to preserve the president's rights to appeal to the United States Supreme Court, we used alternate electors, a process that literally the Attorney General of Wisconsin told us to use in a December 1, 2020 filing. So the very person who is now prosecuting me for a felony for doing it told us to do it. We in Wisconsin did a recount.
And this man went on in his interview to explain that they are going to put Trump on trial in Wisconsin summer of 2024. And Bannon's like, well, he's not. No, they wrote it in a filing. They are going to drag Trump to Wisconsin during his presidency and put him on trial for this in Wisconsin, in Madison. Okay. And he's saying, and they might even do it in absentia. It's the entire Jack Smith case is live in Wisconsin. All of it. It's live. And they're going to prosecute that whole thing there, he says. Which is why I have turned the corner on the filibuster issue. I now agree with the administration.
6 months, which is amazing.
There's because you need to make systemic changes to the system in order to prevent this from ever happening again.
He's in total agreement that we need to let go of the filibuster. It's not serving the purpose that it originally intended to serve anymore. It's really a moot point, and he wants to see it gone so that he can have the most productive 3 years of any president ever. He's already been so productive in his first term. He ushered through the largest middle-class tax cut in just 6 months, which is amazing. There's so much more work to do. Election integrity, voter ID, getting rid of universal mail-in ballots. All of that can be done if Congress works together and gets rid of the filibuster. So the president is definitely talking a lot about that, both publicly and privately. I know he's expressed his opinion on that to leaders in the Senate who may agree or disagree. We'll have to see how it shakes out. But there's so much that can be accomplished, and we must take advantage of having the most productive president in the Oval Office. You know, Republicans need to get off their butts and move, and that's what the president wants to see them do, and that's what the American people are expecting.
Imagine if Donald Trump actually could get his agenda put into law and not just through executive fiat. Right. So, yeah, we got to get rid of that filibuster. Otherwise, we're going to end up in a Nick Fuentes future. You know, Nick Fuentes for Senate. It's going to be rough. This is a Seattle City Council meeting, and things are changing, man. Things are changing slowly but surely. You know, Seattle's got this new mayor that's going to be interesting, but now the city council's like, so I guess we're the adults in the room now. And so this was Sarah Nelson kind of going, you know, maybe we should rethink this giving drug dealers drug paraphernalia.
But I fail to see, however, the harm that's being reduced by distributing supplies such as pipes and foil that are used to consume deadly drugs like meth and fentanyl. Yeah. There were 570 overdose deaths in Seattle last year, and 1,047 in King County overdose deaths. And for perspective, a total of 153 people died on our roads in the county in 2024. So it's absolutely shocking to me that I think it would probably be shocking to our constituents if they knew that we are using public resources to help people get high by distributing.
Now, what she's doing right now is a federal offense. She's holding drug paraphernalia. Okay? I know guys who went to prison for drug paraphernalia without residue on it. Okay. Federal prison. So what she's doing right now is a felony. Your city, the city of Seattle, hand that stuff out to drug users
every day.
Pipes, foil with instructions on how to make it round and kind of make it a pipe. this is like, to me, it feels like it's giving a loaded gun to somebody who's suicidal. And it sends I think, a confusing signal to our constituents, because we are also spending a lot of money on overdose prevention and substance use disorder treatment, which I fully support, of course, and I think that I've led on, but just distributing these supplies is runs counter to those efforts and is also, I think, cruel in and of itself. It is argued, I will say that the professionals argue that distributing these kinds of so-called safe supplies, which I, anyway, won't comment, is a strategy to forge a sense of rapport with people, and then maybe get them into treatment or something like that. That is always said, but the times that I have asked our public health colleagues, how many people, do you have any data on how many people have actually gotten into treatment that you've been interacting with, or who come and access these supplies? There's never an answer to that.
Because it's zero.
We know in San Francisco, the homeless industrial complex makes $900,000 per bum.
Per
bump.
Yeah, per.
And in Seattle, it's the same problem. We did this math a long time ago with $1 billion spent on homelessness. It's like, then you divide it by the homeless population. Dude, they could buy them a house.
Yeah.
They could buy them a house.
And just give it to them.
Yes, but here's the thing. What did we just learn just on this episode? What are they doing in Minnesota with these public things to help people find housing? He's stealing it. He's buying land in Kenya. Right? What are you doing about job creation for all these people that are addicted to drugs and have no purpose for life? Oh, we're bringing in Latin Americans to do the work because these guys are, you know,
I think
we got our own thing going on.
I think it's pretty hilarious that Miss Nelson there is like pointing out, like, oh, you mean we spend money to create the problem and then we spend money to fix the problem?
I think our constituents could be confused.
Yeah,
I think
we are confused.
You know what else your constituents are confused? They're like, why are there no police in Seattle? So for the first time ever, Seattle actually officially said what their problem is. City of Seattle 1.2, explain the reason the project technology is being created or updated, why the PIA is required. So the public initiative. The city's police staffing crisis, now in its 4th year. What happened in 4 years ago? Oh, yeah, the riots of 2020.
They're calling it a crisis now, too.
Has resulted in over 700 officers departing since 2019. As of January 2024, 913 police officers are available for deployment in the city. Slow down a second.
Hold on. This sounds like program success because defund the police was working.
Hold on. 700 police have quit and you have a total of 913. That means you were at 1,600 police. Yeah. You've lost damn near half the department. The lowest number in off-service officers since 1991.
Yeah, that was a good year.
When this Rodney King riots happened. It's significantly below. It's almost like they know riots leads to decreased policing. Per capita staffing relative to comparative jurisdictions. Low staffing levels also affect investigations, which hinders police effectiveness in solving cases and holding violent criminals accountable. Gun violence, human trafficking, and other persistent felony crimes are concentrated at specific geographic places, and longtime efforts to prevent these crimes have not been consistently successful. Oh, I don't know. Could that be the revolving door of criminal behavior that happens in these socialist cities?
Weird side note. Yesterday, I just happened to see a City of Seattle official car, and it had California license plates. How does that happen?
It's an NGO. It's got to be an NGO.
Okay.
It's got to be an NGO. Or the NGO is using some leasing company owns by their cousins.
Right.
You know, some Somali immigrants.
That's exactly what I was thinking. And I thought, I wonder how many cars in California have Washington plates. Is there some kind of reciprocal gimme grift going on here?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't know.
So continuing here. So now that we've established that we don't have enough police, we can't actually get at crime because we have physical staff shorting, what would be the solution? Implementing technology tools to bolster policing capabilities. Enter RoboCop. As part of a holistic crime prevention and reduction plan is essential to address ongoing gun violence, vehicle theft, human trafficking, and persistent felony crime at specific locations, including within our most victimized communities. The crime prevention technology pilot is one component to this overall strategy of addressing this issue. These technologies will be coupled with police patrols, continued investments in community-based initiatives, and enhanced lighting and cleaning. SPD's proposed CCTV, closed-circuit television, camera systems would capture video of identifiable individuals, some of whom may be unaware of the recording, despite signage, without appropriate safeguards. And this raises significant privacy concerns, which has resulted in this review. Recognizing these concerns, FPD proposes the CCTV camera systems will be utilized in a limited fashion and only in public-facing locations. The cameras will face towards the street, sidewalk, and other public areas, and signs acknowledge use of the cameras will be posted. This is what they do in Moscow. This is what they do in Beijing. This is now happening here. Why? Because we don't have enough cops. Why? Because our politicians give the drug dealers drug paraphernalia in order to do the drugs, and they don't get them into treatment programs, and they do cashless bail, which creates a revolving door of people in and out of the system.
And this is why they did it to begin with, because they wanted the cameras.
The problems are because they wanted the cameras. Now, the tide can turn. We do matter. People do matter. In DC, they piloted the no cash bail and, okay, we don't have enough cops. Let's get cameras. Everything's on camera in DC. It's probably the most integrated. They've got more tech in DC for law enforcement than anywhere else, but it didn't work. Right? So in an exercise of federalism, go examine what DC did. They followed the same freaking pattern. And now they've had to turn course and reverse. And as of yesterday, they ended cashless bail in DC.
On this vote, the yeas are 237, the nays are 179. The bill is passed.
And that was the passage of the ending of no cash bail in DC. Your vote matters. Who we put on these councils matters. Even a couple politicians can make a difference. You point out the problem long enough, people will eventually get the point. Okay, another thing that happened yesterday was the Health and Human Services came out with a clarification on a statement that they have forced down the throat of the American population and American doctors specifically. And that's this phrase: vaccines do not cause autism. This has been a clarion call for the medical establishment to smear and deflect from people who claim that there are injuries caused by vaccinations, plural, of all flavors. Pursuant to the Data Quality Act, DQA, which requires federal agencies to ensure the quality, objectivity, utility, and integrity of information they disseminate to the public. Now, this is an old act. It's not new. It's always been on the books. They ignored it. This webpage has been updated because the statement, vaccines do not cause autism, is not an evidence-based claim.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it. Your government was lying to you, not based off evidence, not based off science, because they wanted to serve their own purpose.
They're just claiming it.
Scientific studies have not ruled out the possibility that infant vaccines contribute to development of autism. However, this statement has historically been disseminated by the CDC and other federal health agencies within HHS to prevent vaccine hesitancy. Just be a good sheep. Get in line. Get your wool sheared. The rise in autism prevalence since the 1980s correlates with the rise in the number of vaccines given to infants. Though the cause of autism is likely to be multifactorial, the scientific foundation to rule out one particular contributor entirely has not been established. For example, one study found that aluminum adjuvants in vaccines had the highest statistical correlation with the rise of autism prevalence among numerous suspected environmental causes. Correlation does not prove causation, but does merit further study.
Absolutely.
Of note, the 2014 HRQ review also addressed the Hep B vaccine and autism. One cross-sectional study met criteria for reliability. It found a threefold risk of parental report of autism among newborns receiving Hep B. Vaccine in the first month of life compared to those who did not receive the vaccine or did after the first month. After reviewing the study, AHRQ determined that there was insufficient evidence of autism of the HB vaccine and autism.
Right.
Insufficient evidence of an association. In fact, there are still no studies that support the claim that any of the 20 doses of the 7 infant vaccines recommended for American children before the first year do not cause autism. They're flipping it around. They're saying, whoa, we can't say it doesn't cause autism. Here's the pros, here's the cons. Make your choice. Autism's on the cons list. Okay. These vaccines include DTaP, Hep B, HIV, IPV, PCV, rotavirus, and influenza. You are at risk of autism anytime you give a kid those vaccines. It is not ruled out. It is not ruled out. There is no evidence to suggest that those vaccines do not cause autism. It's the opposite of what they've been telling you. The header, vaccines do not cause autism, has been removed due to an agreement with the chair of the U.S. Senate Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, that it would remain on the CDC website. So they took it off. Your doctors fed you bullshit for decades. They didn't read the inserts. They took the company line. End of story. Don't dress it up. They can correct themselves. They can repent and they can correct their ways, just like all of us can. And we should leave that possibility to be open. I voted for Barack Obama. Okay. I'll cast a cloak of charity and allow you to change your ways. But vaccines might cause autism. That is an evidentiary truth. There is something to look at here. Anybody who claims otherwise can now no longer lean on the CDC as some authoritative guide. In fact, the CDC just self-owned itself. We've been lying to you for decades. Wait until you find out about how we gave Americans syphilis, just to see how they'd react over their lives. Imagine your nose falling off.
Right.
And then finding out later you were part of the Tuskegee experiments. Imagine. Did they ever get corrected? Did anybody go to jail? Anybody get a life sentence for that? A single person? Oh no, they hid behind immunity. Who will provide remedy and relief for the parents that are caring for autistic children that loaded up on 47 vaccines in the first year of life because they were told to? I know who's going to pay the price, the parents.
The kids.
But who should pay the price? Yeah, the kids will pay it. Now, here it was Tucker Carlson.
You know, before we go on, I just want to say real quick, this is akin to child sacrifice.
This is. When you hear who I used to call extremists, who called everything child sacrifice, now I understand the spirit behind that. You're sacrificing future generations.
That's right.
For today's problems. Oh, we don't want chronic disease. Load up the kids with drugs. That'll fix it.
Well, you can also flex into anytime the government is just stealing money, that's the same thing because you're impacting the future generations.
You're impacting the future. Now, in the name of profit, a lot of pharmaceutical companies have fixed some of our biggest problems, like, you know, the sun being the source of all life. In fact, we even call our God the Son of God. And a lot of people think that's because of we were hearkening back to the sun worshipers, right? The sun is very important. And more as we understand the human body, we realize that you need the sun. In fact, the sun causes redox. It causes all kinds of healing things. And the whole idea that the sun causes increasingly leathery skin, blah, blah, blah. Did you know that's fake?
Yeah.
You know what causes leathery skin? Lots of sun exposure where you don't get any sun. Okay. And it causes another problem. Sunscreen, not only does it actually lead to skin cancer, which is a scary thought for someone that's as white as you, right? The shade is your friend, not banana boat sunscreen.
I'm definitely a shade seeker.
But also sunscreen plays into the autism conversation.
Part of it is, this is going to sound really crazy, but I believe it. The dermatologists won. They made us afraid of the sun. And now we have these record levels of low vitamin D levels, but we also have record levels of toxins being put on our bodies. So mom thinks she's really being a great mom if she lathers her son or her daughter with sunscreen. And now you've seen in the last couple of years, sunscreens have come under a lot of scrutiny because of the toxins they have in them that if you put it on someone's skin, it goes into their body.
What kind of toxins?
Like parabens and phthalates. A brand new study where they looked at cord blood and autism, and moms who had higher levels of phthalates had a 5 times increased risk of having an autistic child. So when Secretary Kennedy says we're going to look at toxic exposure and autism, I'm like, we absolutely should look at that.
And anybody that wants to complain about should just STFU.
Yeah, we're going to look at this. You're smearing stuff on your body. You know, I didn't realize how absorbent our skin was until I was given a prescription that was topical, that was for hormones. And I was like, how?
Yeah.
How? So it's just deodorant. You put it on and all of a sudden you have a different hormonal. I'm like, so that's going into my body. That was when I stopped using antiperspirant with aluminum, because it is a direct correlation with dementia.
Yeah, you get the stuff with the magnesium.
Huh? Yeah,
you get the kind with the magnesium.
Yeah, anyways, super interesting. So, yeah. Okay, guys, it is about time for us to jump over to private. We've got one clip before we get there, but I do want to tease private. So if any of you need to like hurry up and get your Rumble subscription or whatever, you can do it. It's too bad we don't have the ad to read, right? We're going to be talking about all these politicians, senators specifically, who basically called for insurrection, told military members to defy the chain of command. And we're going to hear from the deputy director of the DOJ with regards to this. Somebody made an interesting comment about this insurrection thing, and I'll talk about that in a second. Right. But when we get over into the private, we're going to be focusing on a video from the deputy director of the Bureau of Prisons.
Okay.
Now, I have an optimistic attitude, and my experience through prison was trying to survive every day and kind of maximize myself and work on me and all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But I saw horrible things, man. Like, I saw things that sometimes when I talk about them, I almost have to make light of them. Some things were scary. Some things were head scratching. Some things were like, how is this prison system serving society? Makes people worse. You know, it's unacceptable to me. Somebody goes in there on insurance fraud and gets hooked on hard
So
drugs.
it changes the way you look at humanity.
Changes the way you look at things. Yes. Mm-hmm. And the other thing too, is you feel like you're in a system that can't change. And because of my position as a January 6er and becoming the head orderly over facilities, I got to actually talk and spend quite a bit of time with guards and administrative people who shared with me their perspective of the whole system. So we're going to be going over this video in the private. It's worth being there. It is one of those things where when you recognize the role of the BOP, 97% of inmates in the Federal Bureau of Prisons will be reintroduced into society. Nothing has a greater impact on quality of life than those criminals being released into society, because they either become a repeat offenders or they're reformed. And if prisons don't reform people, all those people are just going through a cycle, but now they're comfortable with prison, right? So we're going to be doing that in private. So before we do that, let's play this clip from Todd Blanche. Todd Blanche is talking about this insurrection that these senators...
And that is wrong. Your resume... And that is wrong. Your resume as an attorney and your background and experience lends me to believe that you know the answer to the question you're asking me. You're number 2 at the DOJ. Does this need to be investigated? And what would the investigation be under?
Well, the investigation would absolutely be under what their intent was in saying this. And the question, we've all watched this a lot today, and the question you have to ask yourself is, what is their intent? What is the reason that they all went on a video and encouraged young men and women to defy court orders without even giving a hint of what's illegal, without even giving any suggestion of what law or what order they're being asked to violate? You cannot do that in this country, especially if you're a leader. And so what does the investigation look like? I think they should be held to account. I think that those congressmen should be required to answer questions and to answer questions about why they did what
they did. Now,
I agree.
One of the comments on this was, these guys are saying you guys are committing insurrection. You're saying they're committing insurrection. One of you is either telling the truth or that word has no meaning. Thomas Paine talks about that. When words have no meaning, what are we doing? Right? What does this mean? If the king has a patriarchal duty, why does he not treat us like his children? Why does he not care for us? Why does he subjugate us, hurt us, harm us, injure us, murder us, rape us, tax us? The word has no meaning, right? And all of the, if you don't live in a democracy and you live in a totalitarian government and your elections aren't real, you do not live in a democracy. The word has no meaning.
Well, I would also say that once they started attaching the word insurrection to J6, it already at that point lost meaning.
Exactly. So the comment here is somebody has to do something. If these words have no meaning, then how do you know when someone's really committing an insurrection? Right? It's the same thing with traitor. Don't call Barack Obama and Marjorie Taylor Greene a traitor in the same sentence. Put them up against the wall and shoot them. Otherwise, shut up. Use a different word.
Yeah.
Some words have to carry some weight. I learned this lesson very well during my trial. Don't hyperbolically say burn down DC. They'll take you serious. Okay? Don't hyperbolically say I want to kill an FBI agent. They'll put you in prison for life. You'd been better off killing them. You'd have got 20 years. Okay? These words have to mean something. So now the pressure's on, Todd Blanche. You went on TV and talked about this. Oh, we're going to look into it, an investigation. Are there going to be subpoenas, indictments, some smaller charge to discourage this behavior ever again?
Are we going to change Black's Law Dictionary?
Or are we just going to change Black's Law Dictionary?
Right.
Insurrection is anytime someone puts out a meme. All right. All right, guys, we'll be jumping over it in private. Please don't forget to join us for 1776live.us. Head on over there and register for tonight's Ignite. And with that, we'll talk to you guys in the private and the rest of you tomorrow. Bye.